Hello everybody, welcome back to another installment of the KotLC Rip It or Ship It series. I haven't done one in a while, so I wanted to bring it back. But as most of you guys know, we have 15 different KotLC characters inside of this mug. I'll pick out 2 characters each round. I can either rip or ship these characters, depending on which these 2 characters are. And then at the end, there will be 7 pairings. And we're just gonna see who we get inside this video. But before we draw the first 2 names, make sure to drop a like if you guys like this series and you guys like to talk about KotLC ships. Also, comment down below your favorite KotLC ship. I would love to know. And remember guys, make sure to subscribe down below. We hit 12,000 recently and now we're on the road to 13,000. So please do consider helping us get to our next milestone. But without further ado, let's jump straight into the first pairing. Alright guys, so welcome to the video. I'm just gonna do a little shuffle, a little shake, scramble around. I'm gonna pick a random little card here. And number 1 we have Stina. Okay, let's see who is Stina gonna be paired with. And it looks like Stina's gonna be paired with Biana. Now for this ship, it's very tough for me to really think about what would I do here. And obviously Stina and Biana have like fought in the past about, you know, all this different information about like, you know, oh, Biana is only friends with you because her dad's making me and all that type of drama. So I think this is gonna be a no-go. I think this is gonna be a rip. I'm gonna put it in my rip pile. But let's get on to the next drawing. I'm just gonna go straight into it. I'm just gonna do a little scramble of the notes and going to be picking is, okay, we have Sophie very early into this. Sophie is going to be paired with, this one fell out, but Sophie and Marella. All right, for this one, I'm starting to think that we're getting some bad luck off this first 2 pulls. I just don't really see Sophie and Marella at all. Because look, if you think about the main ships for Sophie, it's Fitz, Keefe, you know, maybe even Biana. You know, you could say Stina or something like that. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do as Sophie. I really don't even see Marella in the top 5. And then for the same thing, Marella really, I only see Marella with maybe Linh or something like that, or maybe with Dex. But I think that Marella and Sophie is really more of like a friendship. Like it's a true friendship. Like they were kind of there from the start, and I think that would probably be more important than a relationship. I just don't see them actually getting farther than a friendship, because that's what the relationship was based upon. You know, it was that connection, that instant connection they had in Foxfire, and I think that's just, you know, there would be nothing more than that. So again, a rough start to the video. We have 2 rips already, but again, let's get into the next roll. So I'm gonna go ahead and shuffle it up a little bit, do a little shake, and I'm gonna go ahead and pick Wylie. Okay, Wylie is the number 1 pick, and for our second one, who are we pairing Wylie with? Wylie and Jensi. Alright, I've been thinking about it for a little bit, but am I the only one who thinks that Wylie and Jensi could actually be maybe like a good relationship? Because I feel like they have, you know, the opposites attract thing. I always talk about this, like that's the huge Marella and Linh thing where the opposites attract really works well. But I also think that's very good for Jensi and Wylie. You've got Wylie, who's more of like a reserved, kind of like a shy introvert person. And then on the other hand, we have Jensi, who's more of like a loud, rambunctious, kind of, you know, kind of out there type of person. And I feel like that could, you know, lead to a little bit of opposites attract. But honestly, Jensi's just a really cool guy. He's just, you know, really outgoing. Wylie being the introvert. So maybe that, you know, could complement each other and actually create a good relationship. That's why I think I'm gonna have to ship it. So this is gonna be going into the ship pile. Let's get on to the next one. All right, let's go ahead and shuffle around. We've already done 6 characters, which means there are 9 left. First one being number 1, Linh. All right, let's see who we pair up with Linh. Sure, it's gonna be someone pretty cool. Uh-oh, Linh and Fitz. That's the person I pulled, so that's interesting. Now, there is a few people that I ship with Linh, right? I ship Marella and Linh. I ship, you know, Linh and Dex, if that's even a possibility. But then third, I would ship Linh and Fitz. So it's not something that I totally would love. It's not something I totally would hate. I'm more in the middle. I mean, it's a cool ship. I think that the main thing that Fitz needs to do right now is he needs to fix up his mistakes in the past. He tries to maybe like get some anger management or whatever, anger counseling, so that he never really does this type of anger stuff again. I think that if he rights his wrongs, you know, he's a good person. You know, the start of the relationship with Sophie and Fitz, they were amazing together. You know, if Fitz didn't have these anger problems, they probably would still be together, and all that like jealousy about the matchmaking list. But obviously, this would be a good pairing for Fitz, I think, and of course for Linh, you know, she's more of a shy person, and Fitz is more caring, and it works out. So I think that it would be a ship. So now we're at 2 ships, 2 rips, and this is the halfway point of the video. So let's get into the next one. All right, our next pairing starts with Valen. I love Valen so much. He's the best character in this book. All right, and Valen will be shipped with, I see an M. Tam. I'm highly doubtful that Tam was to pick any person to be in a relationship. I would highly doubt that it would be someone outside of the Black Swan because, again, Tam is very reserved. He's more of like, you know, I gotta know you before, you know, I gotta talk to you, I gotta hang out with you, I gotta know you on a personal level. If Tam starts to know Valen, there's no way he's putting any trust or putting any care into Valen. Like, Valen is so, you know, he's like very, very niche character, like a very different character that Tam would just not really hang out with. Like, if he finds Keefe annoying, if Tam finds Keefe annoying, how annoying do you think that Valen is gonna seem to Tam? Like, there's no go. Like, Valen is so annoying, and Tam would not be okay with that. That is probably the worst match for Valen as possible. But yeah, that is 3 rips to 2 ships. We have 5 characters left, some pretty cool ones still left in here, so I guess let's get straight to it. Alright, I just accidentally picked 2 names, so I'm just gonna go with that. But I'm gonna see a Dex, and I'm gonna see a Glimmer. Alright, so I mean, Dex and Glimmer, man. Dex and Glimmer, I feel like I've gotten this in a past video, and I'm not sure on what I would want to do here. Because look, Dex is like a really vulnerable person, right? He's had so much emotional, you know, stuff happen to him recently, you know, the whole kidnapping, his brother's talents, a lot of tough stuff for him, and he's gone through a bunch of tough situations that, you know, he would need someone that's really caring. And does Glimmer really satisfy that? Does Glimmer really like a caring person, outgoing person, try and make someone feel better? No, not really. That's why I think that Dex would be better with Biana, Linh, you know, Marella, like someone who really would care about Dex. Glimmer is really unknown at this point, and you know, I feel like this could be 50-50, but I just wouldn't go with that. So that will be into the rip pile. And I forgot, guys, I actually said we're doing 15 characters, but I am going to be taking out Amy. So because I forget that I always put on Amy in here, and she's always a rip because she's so young. So I'm just going to take her out for this one. I think that we all agree that Amy shouldn't be inside of this. So let's get into the last one. Hopefully it's going to be a ship, because right now it's 4 rips to 2 ships. So I know we have Keefe in here. Yep, Keefe, and I actually forgot who this character would be. Keefe and Maruca. Man, if Keefe and Maruca were together, I feel like Wylie would be like so mad. But hey, with all that being aside, I think that Keefe and Maruca could actually be a good thing. You know, if Keefe and Sophie don't ever happen, and Sophie wants to be single, wants to focus on the battle, but never seen all that. And obviously Keefe right now is MIA, or whatever the saying is, where he's gone. You know, we don't know where he is. The Black Swan doesn't know where he is. And here's what I'm thinking. I mean, Keefe, right? He is a guy he's really outgoing, fun. And again, I want to do the opposite track thing. Maruca's more of a shy, more like, you know, not too shy, but she's more of an introvert, or Keefe is an extrovert. And here's the thing, Keefe probably really needs someone to care for him. Right now, you know, he's going through a tough time. I think that Maruca actually is kind of similar to Sophie in that he could really develop a real connection to. And especially because they don't know each other very well, that could actually work very well for Keefe, because he has someone who's never talked to him. He could really express his emotions to someone who he doesn't know, and to someone who he doesn't really have to work with in the Black Swan. Someone just outside of all this, you know, obviously Maruca is joining the Black Swan, but just someone who he doesn't know very well, and it kind of like a therapist feel, where Keefe can just talk to someone, and this could be a good relationship. So I'm gonna actually ship it. I honestly think, you know, obviously, of course, if Sophie and Keefe happens, then of course I'm satisfied with that. But if, you know, Keefe didn't work out with Sophie, hey, Maruca is probably one of the better options for him. So we're gonna end the video on that. That is my pairings out of all these different random combinations that I pulled out of the cup. I hope you guys enjoyed. I always love doing these different combinations because it really makes me think about, you know, would this actually happen in the book series? You know, would this actually be a thing just based on their personalities? So I love doing this. Let's get straight into the outro. Alright, as always, guys, this is the end of the video. Make sure to drop a like down below if you guys enjoy these types of KotLC ship videos, and comment down below what is your favorite ship from this video. Of all the random combinations that I pulled, what was your favorite one? And remember, guys, subscribe down below to the channel. But we're on the road to 13,000 subscribers, so if you guys could help us get there, that would be amazing. But hey, it was awesome from the KotLC Fanbase. I'll see you guys next week. Have a great rest of your day, and peace.